welcome back to Living in My Mind. Appreciate you taking the time to watch today. Today I have another guest. His name is Mr. Mark Rodriguez. Thanks for joining us, Mark.
Great to be here, man.
And I brought Mark on the show because he's got a fascinating story of overcoming some things that he's dealt with, not only from a mental health point of view, but also health issues that affect, and also coming from being in the Hollywood industry, but also coming from your background, like we talked about, where you're from and the things that you've faced and the different things. And I want people to understand that every industry you face some sense of prejudice or some sense of people not believing in you and trusting in you. You have to prove and you don't give up. This is a gentleman that's never given up, and he's created something that's very good, only getting better. And not only just for himself, but other people that work for him. So you want to share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. That means a lot. You know, it's been a long time coming, but I also feel like I'm just getting started, which is really great.
How long
too.
You been doing this?
So I graduated high school in 2003, and because of the noise of society, I almost went to school at Wright State University in Dayton, Ohio. My great uncle taught ballet there, and I was like, well, you know, at my graduation party in high school, people are like, where are you going to go? Where are you going to go to college? And I was like, well, Wright State University, just so I could have something. You know, I'm taking community college classes just to, you know, get my basics done so I could transfer.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Did you ever go to college?
No.
Okay.
So
the reason why I ask that is everybody thinks that that's the.
Well, I was so glad I didn't,
do.
but I was young and society was speaking to me, and my family, not my parents. Once I decided not to, well, I knew I wanted to be an actor. Acting was the main thing. So once I realized that I could just move to LA and get out of the cold, I didn't want to go to Ohio for 4 more years. From Detroit. I was living in Detroit.
You wanted to get out of the cold and get away from the lions.
Yeah.
Be truthful. We're here to tell the truth.
Truth which we're super excited about this next year. We're looking back, which we've been excited for every year since.
Do you remember? People only remember who wins the championship. So continue. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, which was so funny when the Rams won. We had Matthew Stafford. So all of the Detroit Lions fans we felt like that was our boy, which usually you'd be pissed that somebody else, he left and he won with somebody else.
Yeah.
We've lost so much that we were like, well, at least he won.
Right. With a lot of money.
Yeah. So, but yeah, my parents were super supportive when I finally decided, like, no, I'm just going to move to LA. And I moved here alone. I was 20 years old. And I was super hard-headed, which really helped me push through a lot of the...
Explain that to people. What do you mean by...
So, I'm very competitive. And I've never let anybody say I couldn't do something. So
you never let others say?
Correct.
Have you ever told yourself you couldn't do something?
No.
You ever doubt yourself?
Every time I do, I'm able to erase it from my mind pretty quickly, but I think we all have those natural things, which I feel very blessed that I've lived a very optimistic life. Okay. But I've definitely had dark moments where, you know, you question yourself, but most of the time I'm able to like move it out of my mind pretty quickly.
Okay.
But I told myself that when I moved to LA, give me 3 years and I'll make it. Watch what I can do. You get to LA, you're like, I gotta get a job. Okay. I worked at this marketing company that we sold day spa packages door to door to people on the street, to different businesses. You know, it would say like, don't come in here, don't sell us anything. And we'd walk right in and try to sell it. But it was a great
day spa or
day
these
spa
massage parlors.
So a little bit of both. So we'd have a pamphlet that said 90% off,
I see,
right?
I see.
And then they would drop us in their car. They would drop us off in a new neighborhood that's around that day spa spa, and we'd go to people. Hey, we're new in town, and we're giving 90% off. You like being pampered, right? And then they would be like,
when that didn't work, what was your next job?
Well, that's the thing is I learned so much about marketing in that, right? As soon as if you got the pamphlet in their hand, that's 90% of the sale. And I learned how to like start pitching. So that was like it was a brief stint because we finally went to San Diego and I sold 10 one day. I made like $500. I'm like, hell yeah. Next day, 0. Oh, I hate this. Why am I doing this? And then eventually I was like, okay, I can't do this only sales job. So I left and then I got a job at Home Depot and Buca de Beppo in the same day. So now I went from having no money and I spent the $8,000 I had saved up to now making my family with my coworkers. 'Cause I didn't know anybody out here.
Yeah.
So after those 3 years passed that I said, watch what I can do in 3 years, I didn't do anything. except for, it's something. I didn't do what I thought I could do.
But you did a lot.
Yes, and I'm glad I didn't, because if you get this false sense of reality when you move to LA and you get you book your first job, oh my God, this is amazing, I'm gonna do this forever. And then when shit hits the fan 5 years down the road, you're like, wait, this isn't that easy?
I think it depends on the person.
Sure.
There are people who come out here and hit it right off.
Yeah.
Because you come from a background, many people come out here from a small town, from a college where they have a degree, they come out, they graduate from Yale, from Northwestern, colleges that are great in the theater industry and what have you. Mm-hmm. And so they've already had some training. Your training came from you personally, like learning to do the sales so you could learn to do the pitches. Yeah. So you basically helped yourself. Mm-hmm. It wasn't somebody saying, hey, here's what you got to do, kid.
Yeah.
You taught yourself even communication skills that helped you to get better.
Sure, yeah.
So when you came out here and you did those things, did it boost your morale about the entertainment industry because you worked at different places and you were still trying? How long did it take you to where you got to the point where I'm going to do something, it's working, or to take a different road down to certain things that you do now?
Yeah. So when I first got here, I finally got comfortable, right? I got at least feel like this is my home now. And it took 3 years, and that flashed by pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But my 20s were spent trying a bunch of different creative endeavors, because in Michigan it was all sports for me, and I didn't want anybody to know that I thought I was good at acting or singing or writing music and stuff. So I didn't want to tell them that. But you come to LA and everybody's creative, and I was like, wait, I can be more free. My instrument can be more free. I can be more expressive about what I want to do.
When you were younger, because you thought that you couldn't do it, even though your uncle was a ballet teacher and people in your family,
which is a thing,
arts,
right there. That's the first time I thought I couldn't do something.
But why did you think that back home? Was it the way that people were? Was it the way that the culture? What made you think that you couldn't tell people?
It's the way that I perceived the culture there, because we are drink beer, play sports, go to work. And so that's what I thought they would respond.
Your family?
My family and friends. Like very closest people to me knew that I was interested in like songwriting and stuff, but I didn't want to tell anybody else really. I was in one play.
How'd that affect you emotionally?
I would say I was very closed off back then especially when it came to things that I loved. Mm-hmm. And which gratefully, through the journey, that's changed. But once I did start doing those things out here, that's right when the internet started booming as well. I started sharing those things, and the people that I thought would speak down to me or think I was an idiot, there's still people that questioned me moving to LA. Don't go to LA. You're going to go out there to be an actor. Come work for me. We'll build something. Or the girl I was dating at the time, I'm not going to go to Northern Michigan University. You just stay home. We'll start a family. And I was like, no, I got stuff to do. Like I know there's something up here. And
so a situation like that, because relationships, we always talk about relationships where people are needy, or people think that maybe a lot of people in small towns, I grew up in a small town as well, the first person they're with, they stick to.
Yeah.
And it's because of, number one, maybe it's a great relation. Number two, they're lonely. Number three, they don't have anybody else, or they just don't know that they can go out and try something.
Yeah. And
so how was that pressure? Was there a lot of pressure from her?
It was, and it was kind of like it was somebody I had known for a long time. It was kind of easy to say no. She also smoked cigarettes, and I was like, I ain't really down with that. So that was like a nice little thing. So it was, as soon as she said something like that, I was like, this is ridiculous. I'm ending this even sooner than I thought I was going to.
Okay.
And, but yeah, so once I got out to LA and I started, flexing my creative wings, people were like, wow, that's really good. Like, they loved, and feeding off of other people that were being creative and hearing how they felt about my stuff. And I wasn't great by any means. Like, especially with music, I always knew I was a talented actor. Music took me a long time to at least get good enough to show people.
Other people's validation helped you seal the deal in your own mind that, hey, I can do this.
I don't know if it was their validation. I think it was more so like the writing together, and or it maybe early on it gave me a little spark. But yeah, it was more about like the creative collaboration and hearing other people do it, going to an open mic, and then you play a song, and then they play a song, and then you're like, wow, this is like, you're building a little family out here.
But don't you think
really
that
pushed it? Yeah.
Other people acknowledging you is validation.
Sure.
You think about it, you didn't get it when you were home.
Yeah.
So you came out here, and you were in an industry where everybody comes out here to do it.
Yeah. And I think I did get it at home. it doesn't matter how horrible the project I would do. My mother loves it no matter what. It's the best thing in the world. Yeah. So I'd be playing like my Tim McGraw song on the guitar or something, but just not outside of my home. The big thing that I've always said was I didn't want anybody to think I thought I was good at doing music.
How's your relationship with your mom?
Wonderful. Yeah.
Still supportive.
So supportive, super proud, and always been there and rooting me along. But there was a switch at one point where I had always trusted what I thought other people thought was like the way to go about things. Like even moving out here, acting, you go and you audition, and if they give you the role, you book the role, you build a career. And now there was a point when I was probably 28, and this is when I sold everything, went all in on my business.
So what'd you sell and what business?
So through my 20s, I started doing like music showcases and stuff. Okay. It was like kind of like the first peak of some like entrepreneurial tendencies. I was like, I was doing my music showcases and I would host it, and then I would also book the shows, and then the club would pay me to bring these people. And I was also doing, because this is what, like, literally I was hosting, I was modeling, I was doing music, I was acting, auditioning, I was bartending. So I was just out there trying things, which I think is super important. But I was hosting these after shows at AfterBuzz TV for The Voice and American Idol. We would then bring the contestants on to interview them, and then I would book them for my Hollywood music showcase. So I started just building this really great network here. And then eventually I stopped doing that, but I was starting to make some money doing some entrepreneur stuff. But then I had this idea where I was at home, I was playing guitar and I was singing, and I wanted to play on Snapchat. Snapchat was brand new. And I couldn't play guitar and sing on Snapchat because you have to hold the button down. So I just couldn't do it. Yeah. So I thought I needed something that to hold the button down. Mm-hmm. So I looked around, and a guitar capo goes on the fretboard. It's like a metal aluminum piece with rubber on it. So I grabbed that and I clamped that to my phone and put it where the pressure where the button was, and it tilted my phone up, but it didn't press the button down. It held pressure there. So I was like, I need something that feels like a thumb. Mm-hmm. I was in my kitchen, so I grabbed a loaf of wheat bread, I cut the wheat bread off, I taped it to it, and then it worked. And I was like, is this brilliant or am I an idiot? Like, this is, so I started making hands-free videos with my bread stand, and people started saying, how the hell are you doing that hands-free? So I took all of these videos off. I built a team. Mark Spitz is a friend of mine, the Olympic swimmer from the 70s. And he was one of my regulars at this restaurant. I told him about it. He came on board. I ended up selling everything I owned, started couch surfing, living out of my car to make this invention happen. And
what was the invention?
So the invention, we called it a Yo Show initially, then it was called a Mo Show, like My Life, My Show. And the idea was this was the first ever smartphone stand that could access the touchscreen.
And what happened to it? So
after about 10 months, we were getting the money, raising the money. We had figured out where we're going to make it in Sun Valley, California, how much per product, how much the price point would be. And it got all the way about 10 months, almost a year. And we always knew there was one thing that could happen, that was Snapchat could change their functionality and make this obsolete, right? They could add a button, and they did. And I lost everything.
Okay, when you lost everything, what happened to you from an emotional point of view? And I mean, because you talk about how you don't really doubt yourself.
Yeah.
But when you put a lot into something, I don't care what anybody says, there is doubt.
There was doubt along the way, here and there, because I'm also, based on the team that I had built, it was four of us.
Team, explain so people know what you're talking about.
So other entrepreneurs, we kind of built like a board of directors, but when you need to do a business, I never want to do anything alone again, but this was my first time working with a team. Mark Spitz was an awesome partner, but I had somebody else that was working with us too that was going to bring money in, right? Because you need money, you need the financing to mass produce the product. And so that was like the team, and it was his father was in on it as well. So that we'd go to the meetings together, go to Sun Valley, and figure out how we're going to do everything. So along the way, there was some doubting some things because they kind of fell off as well, and they couldn't help raise the money. We got closer and closer to raising the money.
All that is good, but how did it make you feel? That's
so every once in a while, I would doubt if this is going to happen or not, because it's like we have a small window. And but I also had other people like I was waiting tables with. They would say like, "Why are you like this is not going to work, right?" But I'm going to prove them wrong. So I felt doubtful here and there.
Stubborn.
Yeah, exactly. And eventually, it got to the point where I lost everything.
When you say lost everything, how much did you lose?
I had like $1,000 in my bank account left.
What did you lose though? Not what was in you.
Well, I lost. So the invention wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, it was a failure.
Oh, I see.
I literally sold all of my stuff in my apartment so I could help fund it in my day to day. I didn't have a job for
when it
the year.
failed or didn't succeed, whichever word you want to use. The people that helped you financially.
Yeah.
Because you brought them into this.
So they weren't helping me financially. They were helping me
invest.
They weren't investing because we were trying. We were
they didn't put any money into it.
No, they were helping build because we never ended up securing financing. We were very close.
I thought you said
we're very close, and then right when we were about to sign on,
Boom.
that's when everything, which was great.
Okay.
And the crazy thing is, when it failed, I was relieved.
Oh,
because after 10 months or a year working at something, I realized, yes, being an inventor is something that runs in my family. I have a great uncle that created the first ever vending machine in Spain. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know any of this stuff until after I had already been doing this stuff. It's just in my blood. And my grandfather was into inventions and stuff too, but I didn't want to be known as the best smartphone stand creator.
Okay, but let me ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
You started it, you did it. That sounds like it's kind of a defeating purpose.
Yeah, no,
so,
it was the best thing that's ever happened to me.
No, I understand, but what if it would have worked?
Then I would have made more money, and then it would have been a first success.
Mm-hmm. So that's something. So when this was going on, you're a very positive person.
Yeah.
But no one can be positive all the time.
No, absolutely.
So how did it affect you from a mental health point of view? How did it affect relationships you were in? Because you said you seem like you're also very obsessive.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
Because competitive people have to be obsessed to gain success.
Yeah.
And if you're not, then you're never going to achieve what you want. At least that's the way I look at life.
Sure.
And you have to make a lot of sacrifices. So what sacrifices did you make during those time periods where things didn't go the way you wanted them to? You worked at a restaurant.
Yeah, well, even at that time, I stopped working at a restaurant. So
to put everything
into this.
So what happened to you from an emotional point of view? So
what I realized in this whole thing, right during this, I realized how much hard work it actually takes to make something succeed. So I cut everything else out, including most people out of my life. I told everybody, like, I don't do birthday parties anymore. I didn't do a birthday party for 3 years, any friends' birthdays, because I knew that if I went there, I would stay out drinking. I'd be hungover for 2 days, and that's 3 days I could have been working on this.
Okay.
So I cut all of my relationships out. I learned how to say no, which was really great. But yeah, I think there was definitely some really dark moments where you question, is this ever going to work out? Because you're all in on it.
So when you have those dark moments,
yeah,
what are those dark moments like? Not the narrative of what's happened in your life, but what are those dark moments like? Because I want people to understand that people go through what they go through.
Yeah.
So you went through some, and then how did it bring you back to understanding, well, I can either work with this, or it's going to be part of me. It's going to be chronic.
Yeah.
How did that work with you? Because like you said earlier, we talked off camera, somebody asked you to change your name.
Yeah. So this was, when I first moved here, acting was the number one thing. And because my last name is Rodriguez, they didn't want to think, so I'm Hispanic, I'm Spanish from Spain. There's a lot of confusion. What's Hispanic? What's Latino? And because I'm perceived as just white, they thought I would be going into the wrong rooms. I'd be going to a casting room, and they'd be only just for a Latino, and then I'd walk in, they'd be like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And I trusted their business mentality, so I changed my name. Instead of Mark Rodriguez, I took my middle name, so I was Mark Allen. And
that's as white as you can get.
Yeah, I was white.
Other than having Irish skin.
Yeah.
All you nice Irish people. But
yeah. But so I was like, but I always loved my last name. And my great grandfather is a playwright. We have all of his Spanish theater plays downstairs.
So how long after you changed to compromise yourself
yeah.
did you realize, well, I'm not going to do this, and I'm going to go back to who I am?
So I changed it. I was probably 23, and I changed it back around 28. So 5 years.
So when you went into having a different identity, which a lot of people do.
Yeah. It didn't work for me.
Well, but you used it for 5 years.
5 years. I never felt
what did you go
like
through?
Myself.
But what did you go through in those 5 years? Because obviously you had a persona Mark Allen.
Yeah.
And also your history, your family, loyalty, all the way back to Spain. I mean, so how did that make you feel from an emotional point of view? Because a lot of people come out here and change their names because they think, and it's a racist industry to a degree. It's a prejudice. It's gotten better, but it can only get better. And I'm not just meaning entertainment. Every industry has the same thing because a lot of people think I have to have an identity. Like everybody who has nicknames in sports.
Yeah.
If you meet them, they go by a nickname. You talk to them, most people don't know some athletes' real names.
Yeah.
Because you never. So when that happened to you during that time, did you feel like you're compromised, you gave up on who you were, that you started to have a different persona of a person as Mark Allen, and then privately Mark Rodriguez?
I think I always tried to. I think there definitely was like an identity complex within it because every time I would say this is my name, in my head of like, no, it's not.
Did you introduce yourself outside of the entertainment industry?
Yeah.
As Mark Allen?
Yeah, for the most part.
Even girls you dated, did they know that you were Mark?
Yeah, everybody knew. The closest people or women I dated would know that my last name was Rodriguez. But yeah, I guess there was and I don't think I really realized it at the time because I was trying to make it work because the agent said it's supposed to be this way. They must be right. And I didn't know how to stand up for myself and say like, no, fuck that. I'm who I am. So I think there definitely was an identity complex, but there was a girl that I was dating is the one that actually told me to change it back. Like, wait, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, because I was trusting the professionals. And then I got to thinking and I think also with my family, I wasn't thinking about it at the time because I was still very narrow focused. Like, let's make this work.
Did your family know?
They knew. And I think a level of that, I think they potentially could have been like, a little bit like,
taken back?
Yeah.
I mean, because the name lasted for a while.
Yeah,
All of a sudden you move and now you become the Allens.
Right. The Allens. My dad's middle name is Allen. I'm a junior as well. So I think he's like, well, it's still got most of my name.
So when you came out here, you did all this stuff and all this stuff has happened to you. You've also gained some success now.
Yeah.
But without the industry, not talking about the business, from a personal point of view, what do you struggle with or what have you struggled with so people can understand? Not because of the industry, but your own issues that you've experienced that, like you said, there's dark times. What did you used to do in order to deal with those? Because everybody has something that they do or use to get through those times.
Yeah, and I think with me, I always left my health to the wayside because I've always had like a fast metabolism. I could eat like shit and still look okay and just be perceived as healthy. But slowly but surely stuff would happen where I'd be like, what's going on? I'm not sleeping well anymore because I'm drinking all of the coffee, staying up, working all night, etc. And then like my psoriasis started getting bad and stup too. But
tell people what that is. Some people might not know.
Yeah, so psoriasis is an autoimmune condition where a lot of people think like a lot of these things are fads out here, like gluten-free and stuff like that. But basically your skin, like it starts on like the elbows, it can be in your ears, whatever, but your skin like produces too many layers of skin. So it ends up like flaking off and it's just, it's uncomfortable.
Is it painful?
Sometimes it can get painful. Sometimes it can bleed. But if you don't sleep and you drink too much acidic coffee and you're drinking wheat beer and you're in America, so the gluten that you're consuming is basically poisoned by, we won't get too far into that. You can eat gluten in Italy, no problem. But here it messes you up. So through my horrible eating habits, my extreme nature of overworking, every time I would feel some sense of doubt, I would work harder. So I was always good at staying busy. In my 20s were like staying busy. However, if you're just too busy for too long, it could be detrimental to your health. But also I was making a wide network and it didn't have any depth to it. So when I lost everything with the invention, I was able to recalibrate. And based on my 20s of trying all of these different artistic things, I was like, fuck, what am I going to do? Do I go back to waiting tables? And I was staying at my friend's house in the Valley in California. And I asked him if I could stay there until I found like a new place. And he was like, yeah, you can stay here until my daughter is born, 2 months basically. And while I was staying there, he was like, hey, do you want to run my Instagram? I saw you were able to build your Instagram, you know a little bit about it. You want to run mine? I was like, nah, I'm going to go back and work. And I was like, actually, how much would you pay me? And he was like, I don't know, $200 a week. And I was like, well, I don't have any bills. I'm sleeping at your house right now. I'm like, all right, yeah, that's cool. So I can make $800 a month. And then I got to see, I could take with my iPhone, I could take photos and videos with it. I could edit them. I could distribute them on these social media platforms. And I know how to make things look great. So I started consulting people on how to be self-sufficient with their iPhone. I had him as a client, and then he got me a restaurant client. Next thing I know, I'm making more money than I was making elsewhere. And I'm using all of my talents. And I have had a newfound love for business based on creating the invention. And now I know how to pitch people with pitch decks. I know how the social media world works. And I have all my creative passions. So then I created Mastermynd Media almost accidentally. And then
let me
that's
ask you a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
All of this stuff is great, but when it comes, like I've said before, I asked you multiple times how it's affected you mentally.
Yeah.
And that's what I want people to know,
Sure,
because the
sure.
story about how you built what you built is great.
Yeah.
But how has it affected you mentally, this industry in particular? It can't be all cherries and roses and peaches.
it mostly sucks.
Then tell us about that.
But I love that it sucks.
Yeah, I mean, that's nice, but tell us about what
obviously
you've
not
got.
the bad things. Yeah. So for me, it's been challenging. Initially, based on some of the trials and tribulations I've gone through. So initially getting an agent. How do you get an agent? Well, you need to have work to show to get an agent, right? So there's that part. But you have to eventually figure out how to get work to then showcase, right? So that was like the first hurdle you had to do. Then there's the name thing. So, but I believed in that. So I was always trying to make it work, but I did have a bit of an identity complex. But I wasn't never focused on my mental health. I will always just keep pushing through. And then
what happened to where you actually started to focus? Because you do go a million miles an hour. You do things, and you seem at times someone who will avoid something direct you towards you. I mean, I'm just saying, because we've talked, and everything we talked about this show, we talk about life. Because it's easier to just keep moving forward than to stop. So do you ever stop? Yeah. Like you take care of the psoriasis, you take care of those things, but do you ever stop?
This wasn't until recently. So
recently, how long?
I would say in the last 3 years.
Okay.
So 37 now. So around 34. So after always pushing through and having the dark moments, I was always against therapy early on as well.
Tell us what a dark moment is so people can understand rather than just the expression. When you had a dark moment, what did you think? How did you doubt yourself? Did you think about maybe you shouldn't be here? What was it that, what's a dark moment to you that people can understand? Hey, I can deal with that. I deal with the same thing.
Yeah. So I would say, even in my first 10 years out here, the dark moments that I would have, I would, like I said, I would always push through them. There's other dark moments of while you're doing this, there's also the relationships and breakups and that thing. And I would the gym was always a huge thing for me. And like I said, just always knowing that it's going to get better was always something. But it wasn't until I was able to slow down and actually focus on those things. I would say 3 to 5 years ago, where I finally got to a place where I knew what I was doing was going to be successful. We had a little bit of success with Mastermynd Media, but I knew my projects were really I knew I had commercially sound projects that could do really well. They were written well as well, and I would package them great. I'm I know what undeniable looks like. And the first time we went to New York, we had won a contest. We went to New York, and we're in the meeting talking about this short film. They said, "Nah, we're not interested in this short film as a TV show. What else do you have?" Well, luckily I had a bunch of other things. And I said, boom, we have this. Showed a concept trailer. They watched it in 2 minutes. They said, we want this. How do we get this? What is this? All right, cool. They offered us an option. Minimal money. Offered us an option. I said, cool. I've been writing this project for 9 years. And I said,
this is the personal one you told me about.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they said, okay, great. And I was like, yeah, I'm writing it, and I'm the writer on it. And they're like, perfect. And I'm like, but I want to act. I don't want to be one of the leads. I want to be number 7 on the call sheet, so a boyfriend role or whatever. Well, that can't happen. I'm like, okay, well, we can co-produce it with you guys, with my other production company, and we want him to direct it. And I was like, well, he's not a part of this project.
Him,
was one of my business partners.
okay.
So we didn't have him as a director, but this was a moment where, based on who I was working with.
Did he have a name?
No, but he had done the short film they had watched prior that I starred in.
Did he direct it?
Yeah, he directed it. He wrote
that.
it, and
Okay.
yeah. But myself and my two business partners, we had a great
So what
team.
happened?
So then now I have the weight of like, well, this production company I'm with wants to do it, and him direct. I'm not going to act in it, but I just been working 9 years on this project to create a vehicle for myself. And I was like, man, I finally got here. And now I feel like they're like, and it's just a high pressure situation. And I eventually told them, no, I'm not taking it.
Okay.
So we didn't take the deal.
And what's happened to that project since?
So we went to Sundance like about a month later. And then we found a better option where somebody optioned it. My business partner was going to direct it. I was going to act in it. And then my other business partner was going to produce it. And so it was the perfect deal.
And
after a year, they paid us to rewrite it. They paid us to option it, and it never got greenlit. So we got the rights back. So those kind of moments like make me, and I've tried to do the manifesting and stuff and write down like I'm going to, this. But for me, what I've learned based on my work ethic and within these dark moments of wondering if this is ever going to work out, which I have, very slim moments. And like I said, I can clear them out of my mind pretty quickly. But for me, it lights an even bigger fire inside of me.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Are you sure you can clear them out of your mind?
Yeah.
Because what you've described and everything is moving. It's unrealistic.
Maybe out of the front of my mind, I would say.
Okay.
And it wasn't until therapy when I could actually dive. Exactly. That. Yeah.
So how long have you been in therapy?
So I've been in therapy. So I had a brief stint about 10 years ago, and then most recently, like the last 3 years, on and off.
What does it do for you?
It helps me see from a better perspective. It helps me understand the different moments that I've been going through.
Is it the same therapist?
I've had 3 different therapists.
The reason why I ask that because you got to always work to find the best.
Yeah,
just because someone's a licensed therapist, they got to fit with you, fit with your cult. They have to understand everything about you, not just say, "Hey, I'm the cheapest."
Yeah.
Or you can get me on Kaiser or some bullshit.
Yeah. No, I've definitely been a Kaiser.
Yes, and that's another show.
Yeah.
So you were in therapy.
But yeah, so I would say to your point, it's a really great point that I was able to clear them out of the front of my mind because of moving so fast, which isn't necessarily a good thing because that can manifest itself in different ways. And because psoriasis also, high stress is not good for it. Yeah. Your body starts working incorrectly. And that's when I had little moments where I wasn't sleeping well. I had a wing scapula at one point where my shoulder blade was sticking out from my back. I was having like fatigue and all this stuff. And I went to the doctor and they asked me if I was sleeping and all like the natural things that I always would push to the side. Well,
the reason why I ask that, many people out there, this is a thing that creates problems for us, is we push things to the side and move forward. Yeah. And then eventually, I don't care who you are, I don't care how positive you are, how talented you are, it hits you at some point.
Absolutely.
And if you don't have a tool to help you get through that, then everything you're doing possibly could unravel.
Yeah.
And it's always nice to tell people, I'm doing this, I'm doing this, I'm doing this. But now, with going to therapy, what have you learned to help you? Because you wouldn't go into therapy, all the stuff you've been talking about is positive. You're telling the stories of your life. Yeah. That's nice, but you're not in therapy because you didn't get the show. Yeah. You're in therapy for...
The darkest moment of my life was after a breakup. And a big thing that... that's what slowed me down to actually start focusing on it, because I think really moving so fast to the point where, oh my God, everything's, accelerating and getting better. And there was a moment where I believed in this relationship based on what everything that was going on. And she had a hit TV show at the time. So she had built a mass social media following. And then I became the boyfriend that was the boyfriend to the girlfriend that everybody loved. So I became the lovable boyfriend.
And how did that make you feel?
It made me feel great at the time. Because she also was very supportive of how talented I was, and it was going to be we were able to leverage it together and build something.
And then what happened?
And then we broke up. And then every time I would post something on Instagram, I would lose 20 followers.
Well, did you post negative things or just
post things? No, it didn't matter. It was like, we're not following you for you, bro.
And so...
Yes.
Tell me honestly.
Yeah,
How did it make you feel? Don't tell me. Put it aside.
No, yeah. So in that moment, I was devastated, and I had just gone back to Michigan. I was like, let me go back to Michigan and recalibrate. All my stuff was still here. I was never going to move back, but
how old were you?
This was right before the invention. Mm-hmm. So this is 26, 27. And I went back to Michigan over the holiday, and that's when we broke up. It was the final straw. And I knew that we needed to break up. And the first 10 days were amazing. Fuck yeah, dude, you made the right decision. This is awesome. Like, you're free. And then 10 days hits and you miss her. And you're like, let me just try to get her back. Try to get her back, already moved on. And now I'm in a place where I'm back in Michigan. It's cold. It's got the overcast skies. All my stuff's there. I don't really got any money. I just stopped waiting tables. Like, it was a whole thing. And I always knew that I would move. I would be able to come back and but it just seemed impossible at the time.
From an honesty point of view, did the breakup something that you did, something she did, something mutual, something?
Yeah, I feel like the big thing was, I think it was a lot of our, like, the immaturity of both of us. I was super calculated, she was super spontaneous, and we couldn't find the balance. And I wasn't as evolved of a man. Like, I didn't know how to be a great boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like, it was all, it was like fun until it's not fun. And if you don't know how to handle the not fun shit, and it got very toxic. And so in that moment, I was devastated. I didn't even think I could fly back because I was so anxious. And so I'm back in Michigan. I'm trying to recalibrate, trying to focus. And now I'm with a bunch of friends that I haven't seen in 10 years. And now I'm home for a little bit. It's like, and I was like, I gotta go back. And so in that moment, there was actually the biggest thing that helped me. I looked up this article. I said, what is how to get your girlfriend back? I don't know what I searched, but that's what came up. How to get your girlfriend back in 5 easy steps. Fuck yeah, dude, let's do that one, right? I'm fucking dying over here, man. I need to do this, right? And I look at it, right? And I send this.
I'm only laughing because it's the simplest thing we can do.
Yeah.
And if people don't realize this, when things happen to us like this, we look for either something you can find or ask people. And usually we ask people who haven't had a good relationship. They've had 3 divorces. They just got out of prison. Nothing wrong with that. But we ask people who don't have a good track record. Mm-hmm. And, and people always want to give us good advice.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think, are you good with realizing that people in your life that want to give you advice, are you good with saying, look, I thank you, I appreciate it, but I don't need your advice? Because you obviously would go to the internet. Yeah. What about with people? I
go to very few people for advice now. So
now you're in a relationship now?
Yeah. A therapist, you'd go to a therapist, or like in business, I would go to, like, I have one person I go to most of the time. I'm like, hey, what do you think I should do based on this? If it's something that feels out of my league.
Do you have an open and good relationship with the person you're with now?
Yeah,
so you can communicate.
But we communicate very well. But back then, if what happened back then didn't happen, there's no way I would be able to have as great of a relationship as I do now.
So you've learned.
Oh my god.
You've evolved.
Yeah, and I want to tell you what's in the 5 easy steps.
Do I really have to sit through this shit?
But it's not. I'm not going to give you the 5 steps. So what you do is, it tells you, because it brings you in based on a headline, like marketing does, right? And you start reading it, and it tells you, like, don't call them. Like, nobody wants to get back with somebody who's needy, that needs them, right?
Okay.
So right, and then also you need to take care of yourself. So you need to be in the gym. So it breaks down all of these different steps, and once you get to the bottom of it, you realize that they're communicating how to build yourself back up to the point where you don't actually want to be with them.
Be with the person.
It's your mind and your heart fighting and pushing and pulling.
It's the toughest thing in the world. We all know what to do. Yeah. Anybody that doesn't think they don't know, when they're in a negative situation, when they're in a crazed situation, unless you have some type of really bad deficiency or chemical issue in your brain. We all know what to do, but it's the pain and it's the feeling, and it's, a lot of people have an ego.
Yeah.
I want to be the one to break up, or, we broke up because of this or that. Instead of being honest and saying, look, this person isn't right for me, and I'm not right for her. I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. And so therefore people they get depressed, they get anxiety, they get lonely, they start feeling worthless. I'm not lovable. Did you ever go through those feelings that, I'm not lovable, I'm not good enough?
Yeah.
Did you doubt yourself? Because you're a guy that's told me for the last 40 minutes you don't doubt yourself.
Yeah. So, and this is, and I want you to know that I'm the most, like, I'm so truthful now, but I overshare all of the time because I don't want to be that closed off person that I was before. And like you said before, it wasn't that I didn't have dark moments, is that when I did, I would push it to the back of my mind. Yeah. So this is also not me hiding from my darkest moments. Like I love talking. That's what I like to talk about most. So in that moment, I remember being so anxious. I just needed to talk to somebody, get my mind off of it. I remember going to bed. I remember walking up the stairs going like, fuck, I'm gonna have to go be by myself and watch Jimmy Fallon, because that's the only thing that I had on the cable or whatever, like would be on at that time. I was like, the TV wasn't connected to Netflix, I think, at this time. And I was like, damn, I have to go be by myself. And then I'd be up there and I'd be having like, wait, oh my God, I'm anxious? Am I having a panic attack? Like, oh wait, is this how people feel when they're suicidal? What if I become suicidal? And then just spinning. And I've had to like, so when I actually read that article and I saw how they broke it down, and I realized it was almost like a mental switch that I could hear go, and then I had a different perspective. I was still anxious and still had to figure it out, but I eventually called a friend of mine. I was like, hey man, you want to take my bedroom at my place? I still have it, my girlfriend is moving out, and now you live in there. And I basically built a wall up at a place, which is actually in the same place, but over here. Mm-hmm. And I lived behind a bookshelf for the next the next year, as he moved out, as I restarted. But I was, the amazing thing was I was able to see that I can get through that. Mm-hmm. And then also realize I want to build me up, because I had another relationship before that where I had always been trying to save her because she was going through some things, and she had a successful like singing career. And then with this ex, I wasn't trying to save her, but I was trying to make it work. Go ahead.
No, you actually were trying. You just said that you were trying to save her.
I was trying to save the relationship, not her. The other one I was trying to save her.
Okay.
And this one I was trying to save the relationship, and then I realized it was not good. So then we ended it.
I think the one thing we can tell us being guys is, there's no woman that needs us to save them.
Yeah.
There just isn't. I mean, there's literally, to me, they're stronger than most men. But if you look at that, if we think, because it keeps, I've had that happen to me in one relationship, where you keep doing everything for someone because you want everything to be good for them, no matter how bad it is for you. You don't want to be seeing that person that you love go through a lot. Yeah. And then when it ends, you're like, well, where were they for me?
Yeah. And you realize, like, wait, why was I putting myself on the back burner if this wasn't, So after I did that first relationship where I did that, I was like, I'm never doing that again.
You should mention therapy.
Yeah.
What she just told you about.
Yeah. And then so recently, I went to therapy, and couples therapy. And one of the things in
you
couples
went with
therapy,
the person you're involved with.
Yeah, yeah. And she mentioned that you want to be a fixer, which I've always, like, everything I do, and I don't create boundaries because I always want to be there for people, because I don't want to let them down. I want to help them, and I always leave myself to the wayside because I'm like, I got it.
You do realize you started the show off one way, and you just said that you realized that you want to. There's stress in your life because wanting to fix people, wanting to take care of people. So when you push these things down now, how do you come out of that? Because being a fixer, I can understand that. Yeah. And I could see that from knowing you for a short period of time. But what do you do for yourself when you catch yourself being a fixer?
Well, so this is a new thing. So I've started drawing some boundaries because I built a company on call me anytime, I'm going to help you through it. And now I have to put my phone away at 7 p.m. if I can. So I have that where I put my phone away after 7 p.m. and then I won't pick it up till 9 a.m. And then and the gym has been
boundaries. Those are great.
Because what would happen is, like, even like with the people around me that I love, I would overextend myself, and then eventually I would break and I would snap off. Like, what the fuck are you doing?
So you do get mad at people.
And then So
and who's to blame?
So myself for not creating the boundaries.
And that I understand.
Yeah.
See, that's the whole thing of getting to a point that we can share with other people what we go through. Our stories are great, but it's the meat and potatoes, and that right there is it. I do the same thing. People I love, I do things for, and then a certain day I'm like, I'm vindictive. I want to be cruel. I want to make them suffer. Then I realize I'm in the relationship with them friends it's me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And a lot of times you need them to figure it out on their own so that they can learn the lesson and then get ahead themselves. And, for me, I want to be there for my family. I want to, if I can offer to do something. And so I'm learning now to create new boundaries and not overstep them, because that's going to help my life. Because I do have a very balanced life now where
Wonderful.
I'm like literally right now not drinking or smoking or drinking coffee. I'm like only in the gym. I'm like prioritizing my sleep. So I've found that I'm super balanced now. So even I don't get it. I'm not as like quick to pop off, which was, something that, from my childhood, I was always good with words and could pop off at somebody.
Well, we all have a good defense mechanism.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets us through the tough times, and we could always brush things off. I've said this before, and I always say, we don't walk away from people to teach them a lesson. We walk away because we learned a lesson.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing with relationships, behaviors. Look, I'm an angry person. It's never done me any good. Maybe a couple times, but in my head. But the reality is, it's not. So that's why I wanted you on the show to talk about these things.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the fact that you took the time.
Absolutely.
Because people are going to watch and see that what you went through coming out here, they've gone through, and the same thing.
Yeah.
And realize that you do have to slow yourself down, and you have to look at today, because we're not guaranteed. Yesterday, it's gone.
Yeah.
And a lot of cliche things, like you said about the pay, are really true.
Yeah.
If you listen and you see on the internet 7 ways to make love, 7 ways to read a book, 7 ways to get a job, 7 ways to fuck over your partner, they all work.
Yeah.
But like you said, at the end of it, it gives you a better perspective of, this isn't for me.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing is that what I've really found is my silence, is finding out I didn't need all the little things that I thought I needed before. I didn't need all the caffeine to get through the day and do all the job, because I was hurting myself, sacrificing myself for the success of a company. But if you have success in a company and you sacrifice yourself, you're not going to be around for the success to be able to do more, right?
Yeah.
So now, but even though I'm the most balanced and happiest relationship I've ever had, and business has never been better, I still need to go to therapy. I still want to go to different and find these things to continue to do maintenance. And how can I get better? I'm doing very well now. Okay, great, awesome, cool, Mark. But life is hard. It's full of pain. Things are going to happen. How are you going to be prepared?
You look at it this way. You went for a reason. Mm-hmm. So you found out more about yourself, and you're still finding out. Many people make the mistake of saying, I've got enough.
Yeah.
It's like people who are addicts. They've been clean for a short period of time. I'm doing better. I don't need any help. You continuously need help. That's why there's support groups. We have to continuously look at, like I tell people, and I realize in my life, I got to live moment to moment, not day to day, hour to hour, moment to moment, because of my addiction issues, my mental health issues. I know what works for me. I know what I don't do. That's the most important thing for me. What I don't do, that's what the problem is. When I do it, I have more success. So
yeah.
But I appreciate you.
Yeah,
appreciate you coming
and I would
on.
say anybody that's going into business, that's going into entertainment, especially, is like, yes, we always love the great moments. Oh my God, this is so great. But you really have to love the bad moments too. They're going to be there, but you have to dedicate yourself to growth and to figuring yourself out.
Well, you have to prepare for the difficult moments, and many people don't.
Yeah.
It's easy for us it's kind of like, it's just easy. Social media, it's easy to go online and someone communicate, they like me.
Yeah.
They probably don't give a damn about you, because who the hell knows?
Yeah.
But it's always easy for us to think of something that's going to be better for us. So,
yeah.
But I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is Living in My Mind. Appreciate you watching the show. You can find Mark at
Mark Rodriguez TV everywhere.
You can find me at Dennis Henning Podcast Universe. You can find me on, I was going to say What's Up, but that's not what it's called. All social media. Thank you very much, and hopefully this today helped you in some way. You can also call the number below or text, and if there's anything we can do to help, we definitely will, or just to chat, let me know. Thank you.